Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to the March 4th meeting of the Newmarket Town Council, and we will start, as always, with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. First item on our agenda is public. So if there's anyone from the public who wishes to speak this evening, now would be the time. Seeing none, I will close public forum at 7:01. Item that we have is a public hearing on Resolution 2019-2020-25, which is to accept Daybreak Drive and Honeycomb Drive as town roads. Do you want to say anything about that?
It's just as everybody, this is Rockingham Green. It was approved in 2014 as a residential open space development. They have met all the standards, and Underwood Engineer has reviewed the roads to make sure they comply with town standards, and they do, and they're recommending accepting those as town roads.
So if there's anyone here to speak about Resolution 2019-2020-25, accepting Daybreak Drive and Honeycomb Drive as town roads, now would be the time. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing at 7:02. The next item is to accept the minutes from February 19th, and I would accept a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the meeting minutes from February 2020.
Second.
Is there any, I don't have the thingy. Is there any discussion? We don't have the iPad, so if there is tonight, just,
We don't have.
there's
we
no-
don't have the button.
we don't have, yeah. Counselor Sanders.
There's just one correction on line 197 under closing comments. Town administrator said he had just received a report from the MBA. I believe that should be NBA.
Any others? Seeing none, if you could call the roll, please.
Councilor Finch.
Aye.
Councilor Sanders.
Aye.
Councilor Dumont.
Aye.
Councilor Kuiper.
Aye.
Councilor Cass.
Aye.
Councilor Burns.
Aye.
Councilor Weinstein.
Abstain.
Motion passes 6-0-1.
Thank you. And the next, we have the report of the town administrator.
Madam Chair, to start off, there's some presentations that you are to make
Okay.
first.
So, thank you. So every year we create an annual report, and we, the town administration and town council talk about and determine who should be receive the dedication to the town report. And this year, that is Edward Pelzar. And so I'm going to go ahead and read the dedication, and so that everyone has some information about Mr. Pelzar. Citizen involvement is paramount in running town government effectively and productively. This year's town report is dedicated to a devoted and perpetually involved citizen, Mr. Edward Ed Pelzar. Ed has lived in Newmarket the majority of his life, briefly moving to Dover in the 1970s. His town involvement spans over decades. He is a former EMT and one of the original members of the Newmarket Ambulance Corps. He was president of the Newmarket Little Mule League from 1992 to 1994, a life member of the Newmarket Historical Society, member of the Newmarket Business Association, member of the Sons of the American Legion, Squadron 67, former member of the Newmarket Senior Citizens Group, and a former member and past president from 2002 to 2003 of the Newmarket Lions Club. Town boards and committees of which Ed was or is a member include Planning Board, 1972, Budget Committee from 1980 to 1983, trustee of the trust funds from 1988 to 2015, and he just gave us all some information about what the trustee of the trust funds does. We appreciate that. Cemetery trustee from 2005 to the present. For the past 48 years, excuse me, Ed has helped sell graves, record burials, mark out burials and foundations, and respond to genealogy requests for Riverside Cemetery. He is an active communicant of St. Mary's Church and was one of the first lectors and Eucharistic ministers. He also served on the Altar Guild, Finance Committee, and Parish Council, and is a fourth-degree member of the Knights of Columbus, Council 2179 of Exeter. Ed is a life member and past president of the Newmarket Hand Tub Association and is a life member of the New England States Veteran Firemen's League. Ed began working at Brisson and Kent Funeral Home in 1971 with Roy Kent, later owning and operating Kent and Pelzar Funeral Home and Pelzar Memorials from 1986 to 2018. He continues to work with his son Michael in the family business. Ed and his wife have 2 sons, Michael and Mark, who all reside and work in Newmarket. The town of Newmarket thanks you, Ed, for your decades of dedicated service to our town. And so with that, well, we're lucky to have you here in town.
I appreciate it.
All right. We're going to have people, we're going to present things more often to people because it gives us an audience. The next presentations that we have, we've been really fortunate in the last few election cycles to have student volunteers participate in that process. And this year we had 7.
About that, yeah.
Yeah. And these are people, students came and volunteered for part of the day, for, in some cases, the entire day, which is a pretty long event. And I know that as a town council who have to count ballots at the end of the night, it was incredibly helpful to have these younger people who have a lot more energy than maybe we do after 12 hours. So we wanted to make sure that we had the opportunity to thank you for your service, and we hope that it inspires you to become more involved as you continue to, in whatever community that you work in, that you live in. I think it's really important to be involved in the process. So with that, yeah.
Either one.
All right, so we'll start with, let's see if I get the right certificate. So Mitchell Tilton, thank you very much. Thanks for your service. And Sam Freed, thank you. And Hayden Russell, that must be you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And thanks for coming out on a Wednesday evening. We appreciate it. And you may or may not have heard, but we have another election coming up on Tuesday, so feel free to come by for that. And then lastly, we have one more presentation. So every year when the town council sort of changes and people roll off the council and new councilors come on, we always want to make sure that we thank the people who are leaving for their service. So with that,
We're gonna go down there?
We can do that.
Let me get out of the way.
You stay in the middle, Amy.
And I don't do well with goodbyes, and so I didn't want to cry. Right, and I know I'm going to see you, so
I get to watch you on Channel 13 every week.
we get to sew it together.
Exactly.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for everything these past 3 years.
It's, do you mind if I just say it?
Please.
I was gonna say it later during comments, but it has been a really fast 3 years and very rewarding, and an incredible group of people I've gotten to work with, not only up here, but Steve's staff, all the people in the various committees and subcommittees. And one thing that probably the most important thing I learned is that there's a lot of people in this town who put a lot of hard work into all those different volunteer activities. And that's what really makes things click. It's really amazing. It's not just any one person or small group of people. There's a big group of people in Newmarket. It's pretty amazing. And I look forward to seeing all of them in other roles.
And we
Very
know that we'll
soon.
rope you into other things. Thank you. So,
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll start off by thanking Councilor Cass as well. It's been a privilege to work with you the last 3 years. I know we won't be goodbye. It's just we'll see different roles, so I'm happy to say that. Now on the more uplifting topic. The town of Newmarket, and this is very important for the public to understand. The town of Newmarket is diligently monitoring the coronavirus and working to prevent it from spreading. As everyone knows, the coronavirus disease, or COVID-19, is a new respiratory virus that was identified in Wuhan, China, in December of 2019. I assembled the town's emergency management team to discuss and monitor the issue. In the past, we successfully stood up to heightened awareness, monitoring response approaches for SARS, MERS, H1N1 flu, and as well the average flu. And we're going to do the same for COVID-19. We're taking proactive steps to prepare for it if it comes to our community. As of today, there have been 2 presumptive positive cases of it in New Hampshire, and none in the town of Newmarket. Presumptive positive means it tested positive on the local level and still has to be tested by the CDC. The risk to residents in Newmarket remains very low, and the CDC is contracting confirmed cases across the United States. One of the most important things is that we are asking residents to be responsible when getting information about the virus. Get information from responsible sources, like the Department of Health and Human Services, the CDC, and avoid rumors on social media. Period. End of sentence. Social media should not be your source for anything to do with this virus. For the latest on case counts, visit the CDC website on COVID-19 and the State of New Hampshire Department of Health and Human Services webpage. They are both on the town website on a special page regarding this virus. I've consulted with the superintendent of schools, building administrators, nurses, and other staff to ensure all CDC, Public Health Services, and Department of Education recommendations are followed. The recommendations serve to remind us of the best practices in preventing the spread of any virus. To this end, the schools will continue to disseminate information to families and staff, monitor attendance closely, and review sanitary practice and protocols. Next week, we have the town and school elections. We're asking individuals who have any flu-like symptoms to please contact the town clerk's office to make alternative plans if they do not feel like they should be coming into the polling place. We don't want to deny anybody the right to vote, so we will determine how we can do that.
Do you mind if I ask, is there a time limit to when they're able to get absentee ballots? Or?
So state law does not allow us to issue absentee ballots for illness.
Okay.
It's only if you're not going to be in town the day of the election.
Mhm.
So even if you're in town the day of the election but ill, we cannot issue an absentee ballot. So we're just asking you to please call the clerk's office to make alternative arrangements. We're asking residents to be responsible and heed the Health and Human Services and CDC recommendations and take specific actions to reduce the risk individuals and family. Stay home while you're sick and avoid close contact with others. We're hearing stories about that right now. Do not go to the emergency room unless essential. Emergency rooms need to be able to serve those who with the most critical needs. If you have symptoms like cough, fever, or other respiratory problems, contact your regular doctor first. Everybody's saying more hand washing and less face touching. Regular hand washing for at least 20 seconds will decrease the risk that the virus is transmitted. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, or mouth. Cover your mouth with a tissue or sleeve when coughing and sneezing, and avoid contact with people who are sick. If you have traveled out of the country, the CDC is recommending the following. Anyone presenting a mild respiratory illness within 14 days of travel, stay home until the symptoms resolve. Stay away from public places, and if symptoms worsen, contact your primary care provider. Asymptomatic travelers from China, Iran, South Korea, Italy, or other countries identified as level 3 health advisories, stay home and avoid public places for 14 days. Self-monitor for symptoms and contact the New Hampshire Department of Public Health Services. Their phone number is 603-271-4496 for healthcare providers with symptom-related questions. This is important because you have to realize in the last 2 weeks we had a mass migration of individuals traveling for February vacation, and we're going to have that again in a few weeks, and they travel for spring break. So please take that into consideration. Asymptomatic travelers from countries identified with COVID-19's community transmission, i.e. those with level 1 or 2 health advisories, monitor for fever and respiratory systems, and if the symptoms develop, take your temperature and contact your healthcare department provider or the New Hampshire Department of Public Health. And this is for everything. Be prepared at home. We're not saying this. We say this for any emergency, from an ice storm, from a hurricane, from any power outages. Have a plan to care for family members should they get sick or schools or offices be closed. Know your workplace telecommute options and school and daycare policies. Stock up on food, supplies, and prescription medicines now to avoid leaving the home if you or someone in your household becomes infected. And again, I'll reiterate, stay informed by using legitimate news sources. The CDC, the New Hampshire Department of Health and Human Services, they will have the facts and the stats. All that information is available online on our website, newmarketnh.gov. If you have any questions, you can contact the health officer at 659-3617, the police department at 659-6636, and the fire department at 659-3334. Just some items that we're doing in-house. I have instructed all department heads and all employees that if they have flu-like symptoms, they are to stay out of work. If they have a cold, they are to stay out of work until they are better. We know we're talking about the COVID-19, we're also having a bad flu season. I don't want anybody to spread the flu around town hall and then spread it to the public. So we're also saying that if you have the symptoms and you refuse to go home, department heads will send you home until such time as you're cleared by a medical professional. We're just trying to prevent the spread. We know there's 2 cases in New Hampshire now, and that's been over like a couple weeks since it's been in the United States, so we don't know how fast it's going to spread. But it's just common sense for any illness. I mean, we hear so many people say, well, it's just a small cold, I don't want to be in work. Well, I want to be in work. Well, that gets everybody else out, and it brings down production for everybody. So that's where we are right now. The emergency management team, in conjunction with the state, are having weekly conference calls with updates, and if there's anything else, we will bring it to the attention of the council. Any questions on this? Okay. Parking. The chair's requested that we schedule a workshop to discuss parking in the downtown area. It's my intention to have this prior to our next meeting at 6 p.m. With the chief of police. We have begun advertising for the shared facilities director position, and I should have a nomination by the end of the month to council. And that is all I have tonight.
Any comments, questions? I have one. The parking workshop.
Yes.
So I don't, and maybe this is even a bigger question about scheduling in general for the
Yeah.
next couple of weeks. I know that I won't be at the next meeting. I don't know, are you traveling, Casey?
Yeah, I'll be gone in Florida, I think.
The ne-
Then let's postpone it. Are you at the next meeting?
No, I'm gone. March 20.
No, our next
Or
meeting
it's the
is,
18th.
Oh, the 18th. I'll be here.
unless my trip gets canceled because of
Yeah,
the silly virus, but
I'm assuming we'll have a quorum. But I mean, we got
Everyone else
also
will be
will be the election of officers at that meeting.
right.
The other option, the 25th, but you would not be here.
I would not be here.
Are we able to postpone the election of officers, or is that must happen at the next
I
meeting?
gotta look at the council rules. I believe it says that the first meeting following the election.
Okay.
So that's
Right.
why I'm thinking if I could postpone it, the meeting,
It's fine.
Oh,
reschedule
right,
it
right,
to the
right,
25th, at least I'll have having one absent rather than two is, and could you do by phone, do you think, or?
I have to check because we're doing
Okay.
a mandatory training, so
Okay.
maybe.
I'll send her an email to confirm what we can do that day.
Okay.
Yeah. That reminds me, if you have not scheduled yourself to work on the election, please do. We need individuals. If you have not signed up, we are going to be 2 people down.
And what do you need at the end of the?
I need a
at the-
quorum,
A quorum,
which
would
you
be
two cannot be part
right.
of. So everybody else has to. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4 of you have to be there.
To sign.
I'm signed up to be there.
Yeah.
That starts at 7. and you
Right.
have to be there.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I'll be back at 7.
All right, seeing no other comments, we will move on to committee reports. Are there any committee reports? No? It's quiet.
It's that time of year.
Yeah.
All right. And you mentioned this in your report. The Riverfront Advisory Committee
Yes.
should be full, correct?
They attempted to have their first meeting
Oh,
this
they did?
evening, but we did not have a quorum to hold it.
Okay. Well, there you go.
What if I ask?
Yep.
I'm not sure if this fits in with the committee. You had your conversations with the council meeting since our last meeting that we had, correct?
Oh, we
Yeah.
did. I
Um,
apologize. Yeah.
Could we talk about that, or is there anything that we had pulled that was worth discussing now, or?
We absolutely can talk about that. Let me just pull up. I know I sent an email, so let me just pull up to refresh my memory.
The reason I ask is I had somebody approach me about it who couldn't attend. I passed the info along, but out of public interest.
Absolutely. Yeah, let me just get the email out. Jeez. Verify it's me. But basically, I can start. We had about 5 individuals come, and again, this was like the Newmarket Town Government 101 presentation. And the people that came we had a couple people who were really very familiar with local government, but then a couple people who I would say were new to the area, relatively new to the area, and certainly new to town government. So they were very interested in learning more about how our town operates and sort of what some of the differences are between, Newmarket versus Exeter versus Portsmouth. So, I mean, we really talked about kind of the basic structure of our, we talked about organizational structure of the community. We talked about how the deliberative session works and what to expect for this year on the ballot.
We went through the ballot too, or the
Right, we went through the warrant.
articles, talked about those.
People had some pretty specific questions about some budgeting. They had some budgeting questions that we weren't really prepared to answer. Some of them we did, answer pretty well, I think, but some of them were it was just information that we didn't have ready that evening. One of the suggestions was was it really about communication? And making sure that we relayed this information. And so, we talked about some different ways to get this information out there, because, excuse me, in conversation, we were talking about how people generally don't attend our meetings. And one of the comments was, but our viewership on Channel 13 is actually really pretty high. So what we need to do is reach people where they're at. So maybe we can be sad that we don't have an audience, but people are watching, and they're just watching from home. And so finding more ways to kind of get the information to them, either through Channel 13 or through social media.
And even as far as if there's an infographics that can be posted on Channel 13 or parts of the presentation or something like that, that it was just ideas to get it out there, and then maybe having a group that would work on different ways to communicate.
I mean, and I'll say that along those lines, what Channel 13, and I don't know if they did this under your direction or not, but the little video that they did for the ballot and the warrant was awesome.
Right.
It was really great. And so I think that's exactly what people are looking for.
I mean, the one where I was talking, explaining it? Or?
Yeah. So did you want to say something, John?
I just had a question. What kind, how many people are watching Channel 13?
Well, you can look at different videos and see what the viewership
Okay.
is.
But we probably don't know how many people are actually
No.
tuning in. Okay, we would know that number.
I don't know, maybe
I
they
think
do.
I think that they have a sense, don't they? No, they don't have any
We don't
idea.
know.
Because it would be totally random.
Oh, on the
Oh.
TV. But
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I meant views on the.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
sorry. I thought you were literally talking about cable.
Yeah.
And I was
No,
like,
Oh,
they
yeah,
know
yeah.
everything. They know
Yeah, no.
No.
They know
Yeah.
Wilson's out
everything.
here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. No, you can't
So
tell.
people
who's-
are watching it online.
Right.
And I knew a few people did, but I wasn't sure if it was.
Yes, which is,
That's good to know.
it is. I think it's pretty cool, actually. So it's one way, I think, to reach people is to use social media. It's definitely not the only way, but we don't have, we've talked about this, a bunch of times. We don't have a paper. We don't have a reporter in the audience anymore to make sure that we are being honest and following through and doing all that civic, reporting. So we kind of are, it's left to us, I think, to make sure that the information gets out there as best we can.
Right.
I appreciate the update.
It was good. I mean, it's such a great program, and Casey had put, a year ago, right? We did that presentation a year ago, and so it was really based on that, and I think it's really valuable for people.
Right on.
So seeing no other committee reports, we can move on to resolutions in the second reading. And the first one that we have is Resolution 2019-2020-22, purchase of a new recreation 15 passenger. And I would accept the motion.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2019-2020-22, the purchase of a 2020 Transit 350 passenger van.
Second.
did,
Pretty self-explanatory. We need a new van. We went out to bid. Got 3 bids. The lowest price bid is with Grapponi, which is $35,457.
yes.
Just a couple of questions. First, I think it's a good choice in vehicle. I've worked with them and I like them, so I'm a little bit biased. I'm curious to know the average lifespan for these vans, and I know that we were looking at, I know for other departments, starting to maybe lease vehicles. It looks like we're purchasing this one outright. Is there a thought that in the future we might start leasing the rec vehicles, or is it just easier for us
They have
to?
cash on hand.
Oh, perfect.
So,
All right.
yeah. And the life sentence.
Well,
You gotta come up
Yeah.
here.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Hi, Amy Gigante, Rec Director. The current van we have, which isn't quite the same van as the one that we're purchasing, that one has a wheelchair. That's lasted 12 years.
So it's worth the investment.
We did lease is the van that we're purchasing for 3 summers, for 3 months, and I ended up spending more money than I would have just bought it outright.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. Mhm.
Any other questions? I will just comment, having been involved, sort of, with the recreation, with the camp program, but certainly with the senior program, that I know that and sometimes in the summer, like, there becomes a conflict because you
There's
can't
a lot of
run.
times, yeah.
You can't run the trips to make everybody happy. There's just not enough transportation, and so I think that this will be an incredible benefit.
We've tripled our senior trips in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
We ran 36 senior trips last year. We're already at 24 in February. So, yeah, and then with the summer camp, we're using 2 vans going out in the summer with so many kids. So there is a conflict. So.
And the trips bring in funds.
The trips bring in fun. The
Yeah.
seniors, this is not, it was gross $14,000 in just senior trips. That's including tickets, but that's the revenue we drove in, and with all our field trips in the summer, we definitely bring in revenue. And the junior counselors have to drive in a van. They cannot drive in a bus. Please. No.
Oh. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions? What?
Seeing no questions, if you could call the roll, please.
Council Finch. Aye. Council Sanders.
Aye.
Council Dumont.
Aye.
Council Kuiper.
Aye.
Council Cast.
Aye.
Council Burns.
Aye.
Council Weinstein.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
The next item that we have is Resolution 2019-2020-24, Splash Pad Restroom Site and Engineering Service Assistance.
I will make a motion to approve resolution 2019-2020-24 for the splash pad restroom project at Leo LaBranch Field.
Second.
Please.
As the council knows, that the recreation department has been working on installing a splash pad as well as restroom facilities at the Leo's Field for a number of years. This is to withdraw $38,700 from the Recreation Capital Reserve Fund for engineering of that project. This is step 1, basically, of a three task but many step process. We have received a grant from, I don't remember the association, but
LWCF Land and Water Conservation Fund.
thank you, which will be 50% match of the project. So it's a significant contribution. The capital reserve as well as surplus of the enterprise of the recreation revolving fund. So there'll be no impact on the tax rate. This is, like I said, this is step 1, $38,700 to do the scope of work and get us going so we can start it.
Councilor Cast.
Since this is my last chance to commend the rec department's past work, success in getting that grant, and that was quite an achievement.
Thank you.
And just want to wish you continued progress and success on this project. It's quite commendable.
Yes, thank you very much. I'll tell my team.
It's commendable and it's so exciting. I think that, I've heard some feedback that, why do we need this for the community? And I think that the work that the recreation department does and the work that the camp does is a huge service to Newmarket, and to not just the kids, but to all of the residents of Newmarket. So I think it's fabulous. I know that you have worked incredibly hard for a long time. It's it's amazing kind of how long these projects take.
Yes.
So I to see this next step move forward,
Yeah.
and thank you for everything that you've done for the rec
Thank you.
department.
Yeah, I'm excited. We're excited.
Yes.
When do you expect it'll be? When do you think it'll be? The project will be completed.
This is the first step, as Steve said. There's a number of steps. The design, they'll develop the RFP, and then it'll go out to contract, and then, that process takes time. So,
But do you think years or?
I'm, best case scenario, it'll be done before summer camp starts.
Oh, you think that soon?
That's the best case scenario. That's
Okay.
where my fingers are crossed.
Right.
Not sure.
Okay.
Anyways, very exciting.
Yes.
If you could call the roll, please.
Council Finch.
Aye.
Council Sanders.
Aye.
Council Dumont.
Aye.
Council Kuiper.
Aye.
Council Cast.
Aye.
Council Burns.
Aye.
Council Weinstein.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
On behalf of the summer campers, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. And next, we have Resolution 2019-2020-25, accepting Daybreak Drive and Honeycomb Drive as town roads. I would take a motion to accept those.
I'll make a motion for resolution 2019-2020-25, the acceptance of Honeycomb Way and Daybreak Drive as town roads.
Second.
Any questions or do you?
No, same as before.
Yeah. Seeing none, if you could call the roll, please.
Council Finch.
Aye.
Council Sanders.
Aye.
Council Dumont.
Aye.
Council Kuiper.
Aye.
Council Cast.
Aye.
Council Burns.
Aye.
Council Weinstein.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
The last resolution that we have is Resolution 2019-2020-26, upgrading vision appraisal CAMA system.
I'll make a motion for resolution 2019-2020-26, upgrading vision appraisal CAMA system.
Second.
Did you want to
Sure.
explain that?
As the council knows, we just did our statistical update, the 5-year cyclical update. Part of that is that we need to also update our software. Currently, we have an in-house database on a server in Town Hall. This would actually have us go to a cloud system with the latest software. And the amount is $15,000. And annually, there will be a payment of $6,000 for maintenance. We already do pay about $6,000 for maintenance on the software. So it's just an initial investment of $15,000. We'll be withdrawing this from the reevaluation capital reserve fund. If the council remembers, for years we've been putting money aside thinking that we were going to have to pay an outside firm to do our MRI was able to do it as part of their contract, so we have about $80,000 sitting in this capital reserve fund, and we're allowed to use that for software, so it's no impact on the taxes. That's my answer.
Let's see, so this is a cloud service. Just always interested when it's cloud-based, since this is pretty important information for the town, with the backup, does this also provide a backup,
Oh yeah, yes.
or backup service, or do they provide the data to the town if there's,
Let me get back on that one.
Councilor Dumont, did you have a question?
Yeah,
While
just
he's looking.
clarifying questions. So am I correct in that the vision software that you're referring to is the same software that I can go online and look up property values?
Exactly.
So for us in here, is this just allowing our team in-house to be able to connect and upload the data to the New Hampshire database?
We already can. It's just it's the newer version.
Okay.
It's not a New Hampshire database. It's a
Or the company,
Yeah.
that is. My apologies.
Yep.
Thank you.
Is this optional?
Not really.
Yeah.
You have to have it. If the other, it's optional, but you'd have a number of angry realtors and residents because if not, they'd have to come down to town hall and look up every property record file. So it's a service they all prefer. The question you had about backups, Vision uses industry best practices. Manage a hosted solution including nightly backup, offsite backups, 24/7 network monitoring, SSL firewalls, DMZ, some of the things I don't know, IP whitelisting, antivirus, malware scanning, disaster recovery, user access restrictions, and permissions. So,
Most of that's security, but
Which
there
is-
was backup in there too, which is good.
Yep.
Okay. But I just, are we clear on what the procedure would be to get the backup and what the time frame would be? That sort of thing?
It's usually for them in the contract.
Is that something you would just integrate into our disaster
Yeah,
recovery?
and to be honest, this isn't one of those, it's not like their finance system where we should have it up in 24 hours. This
Right.
one you could go a day at least, or a day or two,
Yeah.
because we do have the hard copy records.
Yep.
So I'll have to double check what that is.
And you're satisfied with their security measures?
Yeah, I've had great luck with Vision. And everything in Vision is public information anyways,
Anyway, oh,
so,
so,
yeah.
Any other comments, questions? If you could call the roll, please.
Council Finch.
Aye.
Council Sanders.
Aye.
Council Dumont.
Aye.
Council Kuiper.
Aye.
Council Cast.
Aye.
Council Burns.
Aye.
Council Weinstein.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
And we don't have any resolutions. Oh, no, that's next anyway. So we do have a number of nominations. The first is for Nicole Gruitt Matthews for the Energy and Environment Advisory Committee. And I would accept a nomination for her.
I'll make a nomination for Nicole Group Matthews as member of the Energy and Environment Advisory Committee.
Second.
Any questions or comments?
Well, thank you for putting your name out there.
If you could call the roll, please.
Council Finch. Sanders.
Aye.
Council Dumont.
Aye.
Council Kuiper.
Aye.
Council Cast.
Aye.
Council Burns.
Aye.
Council Weinstein.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
And I will mention that there are 2 more positions on the Energy and Environment Committee if anyone in the public is interested in serving on that board. The next, oh, I should have stayed, is Edward Pelzar as cemetery trustee, and I would accept a motion for his nomination.
I'll make a motion for his nomination for Edward Pelzar for cemetery trustee.
Second.
If you could call the roll, please.
Council Finch.
Aye.
Council Sanders.
Aye.
Council Dumont.
Aye.
Council Kuiper.
Aye.
Council Cast.
Aye.
Council Burns.
Aye.
Council Weinstein.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Can I just say, I really appreciate the fact that after honoring him for all of his years of service, his name is back up here.
I know. Exactly. The next is for Peter Nelson for the Energy and Environment Advisory Committee.
I will make a motion to accept Peter Nelson to the Energy and Environment Advisory Committee.
Second.
Thank you.
Sorry.
And Peter currently serves on the Energy and Environment Advisory Committee, so this would be, and so thank you for his service to that. Seeing no comments, if you could call the roll, please.
Council Finch.
Aye.
Council Sanders.
Aye.
Council Dumont.
Aye.
Council Kuiper.
Aye.
Council Cast.
Aye.
Council Burns.
Aye.
Council Weinstein.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
The next is for Ellen Snyder to the as a Conservation Commission alternate, and I would accept a motion to approve her nomination.
I'll make a motion for Ellen Snyder to the Conservation Commission as an alternate.
Second.
Seeing no questions or comments? if you call
Council
the roll.
Finch.
Aye.
Council Sanders.
Aye.
Council Dumont.
Aye.
Counselor Kuiper.
Aye.
Counselor Cast.
Aye.
Counselor Burns.
Aye.
Counselor Weinstein.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
And the next is Dominic Rivetto for the Newmarket Housing Authority Commission.
I'll make a motion to accept Dominic Veto to the Newmarket Housing Authority Commission.
Second.
Seeing no comments, if you could call the roll, please.
Counselor Finch.
Aye.
Counselor Sanders.
Aye.
Counselor Dumont.
Aye.
Counselor Kuiper.
Aye.
Counselor Cast.
Aye.
Counselor Burns.
Aye.
Counselor Weinstein.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
And we don't have any resolutions or ordinances in the first reading tonight. Is there any correspondence to the town council?
There are none.
And any closing comments by councilors?
I just want to say that I'd like to thank the police department for their greater enforcement of the 2-hour parking limit on Main Street. A number of my employees have gotten tickets lately because they didn't park where I told them to park, and now they park where I tell them to park. So I just like to thank the police. I know that's probably a job they don't love doing, and I really appreciate it, and I think all the other businesses in town do as well. Thank you.
Oh, I don't have the buttons, so.
Oh, okay. We had mentioned a committee training session, Steve?
Yep.
Where we headed with that?
It wouldn't be till after the elections,
Okay.
so we'll have something sometime after the elections. We'll have the town attorney and right to know law.
Okay.
You guys will have a separate one, just for the roles of the counselors and that kind of thing.
I think we're still missing one person on the arts and tourism committee anyway.
Yeah.
So if anybody out there wants to be the last person to sign up for that committee, that would be fabulous.
I think it's easy to just do a blanket, everybody should come to a meeting for training and what your roles and rules, as in general as official. And council will have an individual training on right to know and security on those kind of items.
Councilor Dumont.
Do you mind if I just ask, with the election coming up, the new charter amendments, if passed, they take effect for the coming year, correct?
Depends on the amendment.
Let me rephrase. So the incoming counselors would start immediately still? There
Correct.
wouldn't be the,
Yeah, that one says effective July 1st.
thank you.
I have a quick comment, pretty quick, I think. So last night we had candidates night, and one of the questions that was raised, this is something I think that we will talk more about when we talk about parking, but a community member asked specifically about the spaces that are on Main Street and the number of handicap spaces. And to be honest, I couldn't even visualize what handicap spaces that we had at the time. So I did a very unscientific count tonight. My 14-year-old and I, as we drove through town, counted the number of spaces just on Main Street. And we have 61 spaces on Main Street, which actually surprised me that we have
general
that many.
spaces, not
General
just- okay.
spaces, yes,
I was like,
61.
okay.
And 2 of those are handicap spaces. The other part of her question was about, spaces for the library, and those have specific, the library, the post office, the Newberry Farms Market, the lot that's right outside of Newberry Farms. It's not part of the library, but the other, those all have handicap spaces, as well as, where Panzanella's, that strip has
There's also
plenty of
some in
handicap
RML
spaces.
for those commercial spaces, I'll just mention, down below. They're not as visible, but there's,
In the mill.
Oh,
mill.
right.
Yeah, the mills have them too.
Right. So along Main Street, and I don't know and again, I think that this is something that we can talk about when we do the workshop, but I don't know what the regulations are for curbside parking.
So when we did the pedestrian safety downtown, they looked at that as well.
Good.
So we do have the correct number of disabled spaces.
Okay.
In the,
It's a formula, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
and yeah. So that was part of the review.
Good. Counselor
I
Sanders.
understood her comment to be more that there weren't any along where Prexco's and some of the other businesses were, and it's a long walk from the library one
Right.
to downtown. I think that was her concern
It-
with
I also got that feeling.
Yeah, with more people aging out, the one spot in front of the church and a couple up by the library, and you can't park in the ones in the post office one unless you're using the post office. And there is one right on the other side of the
Right.
fence, correct?
Yep.
I think that was her concern, that there just aren't enough of them in the downtown area.
As I said, we do comply with the
Right,
regulations, so.
Well, I understand that, but I think
Yeah.
was her concern.
Right.
Rather than the number of them at the location.
Right.
Sorry, can I just clarify, is it the fact that the post office, the handicap spaces are still treated with the same, you must be a customer of the post office, subject to tow?
Where?
Well,
I would
Helen
think
had
so.
mentioned that there were some
There's some,
handicap.
if it's on the street, no, those are ours. If it's in their parking lots, it's theirs.
Okay, for our handicap spaces, are those subject to a 2-hour limit, like?
Yep.
Okay. Fair enough.
Great. And that's all that I had. I just wanted to make sure that I addressed that. And we can talk more about that when we do our workshop. And that's all I have. So unless there are any other comments, I'll consider us adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.